Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're diving into one of the most incredible public sector transformations you'll find anywhere. It's the story of how the Indian state of Bihar went from a place of constant power shortages to actually having an energy surplus, completely rewiring its future in just a little over a decade.
So let's rewind about 10 years. The situation in Bihar was, to put it mildly, not great. This number, almost 43%, is what experts call aggregate, technical, and commercial losses. So what does that actually mean? Well, it's pretty simple. For every 100 units of power they generated, nearly half of it, poof, gone. Lost to theft or just a failing, leaky grid.
And look at this. Fast forward to today, that number has been absolutely crushed, down to just over 15%. I mean, this isn't just a small improvement, it's a massive turnaround in efficiency that blows past national targets. It's a sign that something fundamentally changed.
And this number, this really tells the human side of the story. Back then, at just 134 kilowatt hours per person, electricity wasn't just in short supply. For many, it was a luxury. And that affects everything, how late a shop can stay open, whether a kid can do their homework at night, everything.
And by next year, it's on track to have nearly tripled. We're not just talking numbers here. This represents millions of homes finally getting reliable light, businesses that can thrive, and farms that can actually run their irrigation systems.
So the big question is, how on earth did they do it? How did they pull off this incredible turnaround? Let's get into it.
All right, so the whole thing started not with some fancy, complicated policy, but by going back to the absolute basics. They focused on the foundation of the entire power sector. I mean, think about it. You can't have a power revolution if you don't have the pipes and wires to actually move the electricity around, right? So the very first, most strategic step was to build a brand new, robust electrical highway system that could span the entire state.
And that's exactly where they started. They built the big electrical highways first. Just look at the growth. The network of high-voltage transmission lines went from around 5,000 kilometers to over 21,000. That's a quadrupling. This created a massive modern grid that could actually move power from the plants to every single corner of the state.
But, highways are pretty useless without on-ramps and off-ramps, right? That's where substations come in. They're essential for managing and distributing all that power. And guess what? The number of those quadrupled, too. So the new grid wasn't just bigger, it was way more stable and reliable.
Okay, so once that modern grid was in place, the game changed. The focus could finally shift from building big infrastructure to getting power to the people at the end of the line.
And the results? Honestly, they were staggering. The number of people with electricity just exploded, soaring by over 450% in a little over a decade. They achieved pretty much universal household electrification. For millions of families, this was the moment the lights came on for the very first time.
So what was the secret sauce? Well, a big part of it was this government program. And I'll try to say this right. The Mukhya Mantri Vidyut Upabhokta Sahayata Yojana, or MBUSYSE for short. By giving people a basic amount of electricity for free, it suddenly made power affordable for about 90% of all households. That just unleashed a wave of demand and totally changed people's quality of life.
And it wasn't just about homes either. This revolution spread out to the farms. The state offered super cheap, subsidized power, which directly lowered the cost of farming. And that led to hundreds of thousands of new connections and really kicked off a move toward cleaner, solar-powered irrigation.
But here's the thing. Fixing the problems of today, that wasn't enough. Bihar is now looking ahead, planning for a much greener and more sustainable future.
Now this is really interesting because it shows us where they're starting from. Right now, 2/3 of the power still comes from old-school thermal plants. This really highlights just how big the challenge is, but also why this green transition they're on is so important.
But check out the ambition here. The state is moving fast to change that mix. They've already got significant power coming from solar, hydro, and wind. And the goal? To scale this up in a huge way, aiming for almost 24 gigawatts of clean energy by 2030. And to hit those huge goals, they're having to get pretty creative. Land is tight in Bihar, so they're putting solar panels literally anywhere they can, on top of government buildings and even on floating platforms and reservoirs. Super innovative stuff. So, you might be wondering, what's the bottom line here? After all this work, all this investment, what's the financial payoff? Well, it's a complete turnaround for the state's entire power sector.
Just look at these numbers. The companies that actually deliver the power,
the Discoms. They used to lose a ton of money. Now, they're solidly in the black, with profits expected to jump almost tenfold in just 2 years. That is a sign of incredible financial health.
And this number right here is the real kicker. It's called cost coverage. Basically, it means for the first time ever, the money they're making from selling power is actually more than what it costs to produce and deliver it. The whole system is finally paying for itself. So in just over a decade, Bihar has totally flipped the script. It's gone from a state that was constantly struggling to find enough power to one that now has more than it needs. That's a foundation for real long-term growth.
And that brings us to the big question. This massive shift from scarcity to security is about so much more than just keeping the lights on. It's really the foundation for everything else. So you have to wonder, now that everyone has power, what's next for the 128 million people of Bihar? What new revolutions will this one ignite?